Good afternoon and welcome to YourTown. My name's Thomas Hood. I'm here to talk with interesting movers and shakers around the Monterey Peninsula. And today it's my sincere opportunity that's great to have Eric Sand, Realtor and past president of Monterey History and Art Association, to tell us about what's going on in his neck of the woods. Eric, welcome to the show.
Hi, Tom. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too. So tell me a little bit about, for our audience here, your family history. Your family goes back six generations.
I'm sixth generation Californian and from here on the Monterey Peninsula. There have been mayors, writers, ranchers, people that have contributed to the spirit of Monterey and the Monterey Peninsula.
Would that include bootleggers, swindlers?
I think there's a story that my grandmother told about that. But
no history of Monterey is complete without a few dark shadows.
But I'm a realtor in the Carmel Valley Village at present, and I'm in the office, the building that my grandfather built as his brokerage in 1946. My father started in real estate, and then he went to Berkeley, got his MA in political science, and then joined the State Department, the Foreign Service, and I basically grew up in after the age of 5 in Washington, D.C., Taipei, Taiwan, and Athens, Greece. When I was 18, I came back here to the Monterey Peninsula, lived on what was my grandfather's ranch in the Carmel Valley, and went to MPC for a little over 2 years before going to L.A. and attending UCLA. My first profession was as a software engineer. I later worked for Hewlett-Packard and then the Naval Postgraduate School, always trying to get back closer to here. And about 12 years ago, I decided to get back into the family business of real estate. And so I moved into my grandfather, Harold Sand's office in the village at 28 West Carmel Valley Road.
So it's kind of, you've come full circle from living abroad, pursuing other careers, and you're back in your grandfather's real estate office.
Right, yeah. And
right in Carmel Valley Village.
And I've gotten involved with a lot of historical projects. I was past president of Monterey History and Art Association. Now I'm on the board of directors for the Carmel Valley Association. I'm getting involved in a lot of civic organizations. We're trying to maintain the character and spirit of the Monterey Peninsula, not moving too fast, making changes too quickly, trying to preserve some of the spirit of the people that lived here.
What really comes to mind? You mentioned a little while ago about some time you spent under eucalyptus trees with Susie Minchkin or something, and now they're cutting those trees down. Tell us that story.
No, on the Carmel Valley Ranch, which was by the right by the farm center, my girlfriend, who later became my wife.
Oh, I didn't know it was her.
Yeah, and then we had 2 sons. But we used to park under the eucalyptus trees in my 51 Chevy convertible.
And this is where Carmel Valley Ranch is today?
This is where Carmel Valley Ranch is.
Right off of Robinson Canyon.
Right off Robinson Canyon Road. That was a working ranch until about 1976.
Well, what did the valley look like back then, and what are you hoping to retain now with the Carmel Valley Association?
The Carmel Valley was always very, very quiet. I remember my grandmother's living room, Alice Hilby Hale. It was so quiet in the valley, a fly would be buzzing around the living room, but it would almost sound too loud. There was a rock crusher over by the farm center, and it was almost like a heartbeat, and making a sound, and it was just very still and very contemplative to live in the Carmel Valley. There was also the smell of the earth was like nowhere else in the world.
Did you have a understanding then of what is now commonly known as Steinbeck country? As you read him later in high school, did you have that connection?
No, I didn't start making the connection with my ancestry and where my family had actually come from through the peninsula and everything until probably about 12, 15 years ago.
Okay.
I was busy living life and having kids and being involved in software and then real estate, and then I started looking back a little bit about where I'd come from and where my family had come from.
Interesting. Yeah.
So,
and you live out in the valley now?
I live out in the valley, in an area called Los Tulare, just past the village, and I have a view of my favorite area in the whole world, the Ventana Wilderness. I love to hike through there from Chews Ridge to Big Sur.
Well, as a realtor, having grown up in the area, gone elsewhere, come back, delving into history, all your civic involvement, what is something that would be unique about someone coming to you as a realtor in Carmel Valley? What can you give them that other people can't with all that history?
Just the sense of Carmel Valley Village and the Carmel Valley being a community where people really know each other. I think I know just about everybody in the village, all the store owners, a lot of people, my neighbors, and they know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really nice living in an area where people know who you are. And so that's the depth of human beings. We excel, we're really ourselves when we're in front of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Computers are all right. I was a software engineer for almost 40 years, but I really prefer face-to-face contact with people. There's a lot that goes on that happens between people when they're face-to-face.
So you're involved in a business that is not only tied to your family history, but it's something you really believe in terms of quality of life.
I'm helping people find homes where they're going to live and where they can settle down, set roots, raise families. That's really important to me. I have a very deep sense of community because of my grandparents. Both sets of grandparents lived in the Carmel Valley, and I acquired a very deep sense of community through them. And it's instills a very deep purpose in life to have a connection with the land.
Well, that's part of the attraction of the whole peninsula, is there is that presence of history, not only in the valley, but with Monterey, with Seaside, with Carmel. Now, aside from being out in the valley, your passion for history has bridged over into Monterey History and Art Association, founded in '31. Tell us a little bit about your connection with that.
Well, I became involved about 32 years ago when my Aunt Robin Vaughn asked me to be the Maestro Mayor in a celebration called La Merienda, which roughly translates in Spanish into afternoon picnic. In 1985, she asked me to be the Maestro Mayor who leads the procession. The La Merienda is basically a reenactment of the presentation of a young lady to the community. There's the dueña, which is like the matron, then the La Favorita, which is the young lady being presented, and she's accompanied or escorted by the doncellas, two doncellas, and they're dressed in period costumes. We walk down Pacific Street, make a right on Franklin, a left on Alvarado.
You've got the route memorized. You've done this a long time.
Yeah, I've done it a number of times. But it's a reenactment of presentation. This is where the Spanish and Mexican communities, how they used to bring a young lady, present her to the community.
In the Midwest, we call it a debutante ball.
Right.
Same kind of thing?
Same sort of thing. But the Merienda, we have a stage, and she's presented. The dueña gives a talk in Spanish, and La Favorita gives a talk in Spanish. And then the mayor, like last year, Clyde Roberson, welcomes the attendees at La Merienda, and it's always held at the Memory Gardens right behind Pacific House, right off Custom House Plaza. It's very intimate. It's a walled, enclosed area with a fountain in the center. It's a very intimate scene to have a get-together like this.
So for someone that hasn't been to this, it's almost hard to describe this, but imagine it's a reenactment that has live music, a family procession.
Yeah, and we have a barbecue crew.
So this is a structured event around the tradition of introducing a young lady into the community.
Exactly.
And this occurred in Monterey before MHAA picked up the ball?
The first La Merienda happened in 1929, and the founders of that, or the people that attended, were artists and writers here in the Monterey Peninsula. And in 1931, roughly the same group of people started Monterey History and Art Association. Effie Fortune, H.W. Hansen, Colonel Fitch. There were many, Myron Oliver, many artists and writers were the initiators of Monterey History and Art Association.
As an architect and a sometime struggling painter, I studied quite a bit about the migration of artists, not only from the Bay Area, but also from the East Coast, some of which had studied overseas. So in that mix that you described, they were the founding members of Monterey History and Art Association. What I think is fascinating is some of those people didn't grow up here, and they got immersed in history, not unlike what you've done, and brought this event forward, reenacting a traditional Spanish event.
Yes, it is, and it's the people that come, we celebrate Monterey's spirit, and the celebration is apolitical. In other words, the people there, the barbecue crew, the attendees, everybody knows that we're friends and we are put aside all differences, and there is no discord there. A few years ago, Mark Del Piero and Dave Potter had a very competitive bid for the 5th District Supervisor seat. Mm-hmm. And here they were standing next to each other at the serving table. They were on the barbecue crew with Peter Caniglio's.
Well, let's take a look at some of those images. You've brought some along here. Maybe
and
we
they
see
were
a famous face or two.
were telling jokes to each other.
Right.
And it was a neutral ground.
Let's take a look at our first image here. Okay. Tell us about this. Obviously, you're off to the left there.
This is the court.
Okay.
That's me on the far left, one of the cake bearers, one of the dueñas, La Favoritas in the center, the second doncella, and then Debbie McDonald is the dueña. And
so
then
this essentially, are you representing the family here? You have La Favorita. She's
right
in the center.
Right.
Does this represent her family in a traditional
Right. The young ladies here usually have families that go back many generations in the Monterey area and in Monterey County.
How are they selected?
We have a committee that calls families that have been here for a long time,
okay,
Monterey and Monterey County, and we ask them if they would like their daughter to be involved. It's an honor, yes, it is.
Okay, here's our kitchen crew here.
Yes, we have...
recognize a few folks there.
Here we have the usual suspects. We even get Leon Panetta in there. He comes in. He doesn't actually sit at a table, but I personally handwrite an invitation to him every year. He makes a cameo appearance. All of a sudden, you'll turn around and he's at one of the serving tables, and half an hour later, you'll turn around and he's not there anymore. But he loves it. He's friends with many of these people here.
He's actually pretty good with Dave. Dave's good with steaks. He's good with chicken.
This is Leon's son, Jimmy
yeah.
Panetta, who is now in our House of Representatives.
So it's like a giant walkthrough. All right,
yes.
There's Mr. Panetta.
And here's Leon Panetta,
yeah.
and the lady on the right is in charge of the La Merienda cake. Her name is Anita Ferrante, and that's her daughter immediately behind her.
I danced with Anita once.
Really?
Yeah. Talking about MHAA, yeah. At a gathering once. And so you've got all volunteers here? Okay, here's a gathering.
And this is where we're gathering at the Casa Serrano before our march down to the Memory Garden. The gentleman on the left is the current president of History and Art, Larry Chavez, and that's Elizabeth Yarnell Todd, whose mother was very involved in Merienda.
Sure.
Clyde Roberson, the current mayor of Monterey, his wife, and the gentleman there to their left is, I don't remember his name, but he's the commandant at the Coast Guard here in Monterey. And this is the stage that's...
this is in the Memory Garden now.
This is in the Memory Garden.
Custom
That's
House?
Bishop Garcia giving the benediction, and the two doncellas on his left and right, and the La Favorita is immediately behind him, and the dueña is there. The special award was given in 2016 to Peter Caniglio for his almost 40 years of heading the barbecue crew.
Let's take a look at another one. Okay.
This is one of the tables.
This is pretty elaborate stuff.
The table hostesses or hostess design their own tables. They bring whatever they want. The more colorful, the better. And there's almost a little competition sometimes among the people that are the hostesses or hostess to see who can set up the most decorative table.
So in this setting, how many people you've got? 400?
We can have 400, 500 people that are all in this area, and it's rather amazing, the camaraderie. Some people don't see each other except for once a year when they attend the La Merienda, and it's always held the first Saturday in every June.
How do people get tickets? Is it open up to the public?
It's open to the public.
Okay.
The telephone number to call if you want to purchase tickets, leave a message, is 831-372-2311. Please leave a message, and Antoinette, who's in charge of the tickets and some of the table organizing, will give you a call back. But please call. It's a lot of fun. You don't need to come as a table hostess or hostess. You can request that you be seated at a table. Quite often the table hostess will ask her immediate family and friends to sit at her table. Some of the hostesses have 2 and 3 tables.
Okay.
They have a lot of family and a lot of friends. but it's almost
And
sort
people
of a-
can come
people
dress as they are in costume,
they can
have some
come,
fun.
The more color, the better. Wear
Okay.
something bright. You can come dressed any way you like, but come dressed in a bright color.
Well, I had the good fortune when you and I were on MHA board together to attend Merienda. This was right after I moved down from the Bay Area. And I really got that immediate sense of local history, of time and place in that courtyard, which I understand historically goes back to the legend of bulls and bears.
Bulls and bears, yeah. In that area, every year we award what's called the Laura Bright Powers Award. She was one of the founders of Monterey History and Art, and the memory garden is actually really named after her. There's a plaque on the wall immediately to the right as you enter through the front gate.
Okay.
So
It's quite an event. It is, if
is.
people haven't attended it,
it's
really something to see.
It's like from 11 to 3 o'clock, and the La Merienda Committee, which we have 15 to 20 people on, starts in November. We put in hundreds of hours, and it's all over in 4 hours, culminating the first Saturday every June.
Well, those times that I've attended and helped you set up the stage a couple of times, I really felt as a newcomer to the area after 12 years, that I was really participating in something that really supported the local history that you embrace, and it was a privilege to be a part of that.
Well,
whole,
Tom, you
that whole
contributed
effort.
quite a bit of the spirit. You really had it built into you, a very innate Monterey spirit of
It's been a lot of
people
fun.
that get to know each other and to help each other out, become part of the community. You've done that in spades. Thank you.
Well, it's been a lot of fun working with you at MHAA. Tell us, we've just got a couple seconds left. What's going on over at the Stanton Center right now that people should go see?
Right now, the Stanton Center is hosting, his name is Dimitri Peterman, and he has one of the world's largest collections of Salvador Dali paintings and etchings, and that is being housed in the Stanton Center right off Custom House Plaza right now. Please go see it. It's very intriguing. Salvador Dali lived on the Monterey Peninsula in the 30s and 40s, and he held back then, a very avant-garde party called the Emerald Forest at the Naval Postgraduate School, which at that time was the Del Monte Hotel.
This is the one with frogs under dishes and
Yes, it was
Bob Hope and...
very unusual setting. But that's the Monterey Peninsula. The artists, the people that live here are all unusual, and we vive la différence. We like the difference. We celebrate each other's differences.
So things change, but things still remain the same for you on
Yes,
the peninsula.
it's an ongoing story. Hopefully it will never end.
Eric, I'm really glad you came in to talk with us today. Appreciate it.
All right.
This has been Your Town.